Hi, everyone. Welcome to Riot's Lunch and Learn series. My name is Jen Morgan, and I am the Virginia program lead for Riot. This is the place where we get to highlight Riot's sponsors and partners and cool companies like TSV. Just a couple of quick reminders before we get started. This event is being recorded and will be posted to Riot's YouTube channel and uploaded to the meetup page where you registered for the event. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, I'll be monitoring the chat, so please place all questions in the chat and I will read the questions aloud throughout the presentation. Please keep yourself muted and save any vocal questions till the end. Today we have with us Trevor and Aiden with TSV Analytics to discuss social not working, fix your brand's social media SEO through analytics and automation. Trevor and Aiden, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jen. Excited to be here with everyone. This is the first TSV Analytics Lunch and Learn, so we're excited to present to you all and show you what we've been working on and how we can kind of go through the whole social media process and automating it. Just make sure everyone can see that. That's perfect. And yes, it wasn't a typo in the title for the Lunch and Learn. It is social not working, not networking, because play on words, social media can be daunting and trying to figure out really what to post about as a business owner, startup founder, whatever it might be, just a very daunting task in general. So we're here to kind of go through the whole process of how we can help you out with not taking time away from your business, but still being able to take advantage of social media. So what we're going to kind of discuss today comes down to why should you be engaging in social media, posting more, staying consistent, and is it actually worth the effort that you would need to put in to reap the benefits of posting on social media all the time, and what exactly is in it for me and you all when we are posting on social media. And then we'll kind of dive into TSV Analytics specifically, how we got started and our story, and how exactly you all can start to use TSV Analytics today to start posting more consistently on social media. And then, as I said, how we can get started working on new content. And as we mentioned, you could start working on it today. And we've developed a tool, the TSV Content Generator, that lets you create tailored content specifically for the topics that you all want to post about. And we'll come back to this at the end of the presentation and get you all signed up, start creating content specifically for your businesses. So very excited to go through that towards the end here. And then kind of to just go through an introduction to TSV Analytics, we like to call ourselves a social media analytics, and we automate the content creation process. And when we talk about this content creation process, it's really everything from ideating what you should be posting about on social media for your audience to then actually creating that content, which can be one of the biggest hurdles, is actually putting pen to paper, typing in exactly what you want to post, and then finally distributing content to your audience in the most effective way. And our whole TSV process is helping brands accomplish all of this in a much more automated, efficient way to not waste all of your time. So I can pass it over to Aiden to kind of talk about how TSV actually got started.
Well, hello. So Trevor and I actually met in freshman orientation at NC State. We were both in the exploratory studies program. So when we got to state, we did not have a major picked out. And it was kind of through this first year in exploratory studies that I kind of just by a stroke of luck, we both ended up in business. Trevor started doing undergraduate research through a group in the business school pretty early on. And then I think it was our early junior year, late sophomore year, he talked me into working with him as well. So in research, kind of the main project that got TSV started and eventually led to us creating the company was with the American Coatings Association. So that's with a lot of companies like Sherwin-Williams, Valspar, DuPont, just people that make paints and coatings for consumer goods. And so they came to us with a problem where they basically wanted to prevent another BPA baby bottle craze. So they wanted to know what the general public thought about a lot of the chemicals that they used in their products. And so in order to do this, obviously social media is probably the best place to go if you're looking for public opinions about something general. So we set up a way to basically collect any tweet that mentioned I think there were a couple hundred different chemicals they were interested in, but we basically set up a way to track all the different known ways that a chemical could be said. So in most cases, this was through an abbreviation. And then we would collect all these posts and then try to provide aggregated results for these companies. And then we discovered pretty early on that because a lot of these chemicals are used as, or referred to as with abbreviations, these abbreviations can mean a lot of different things beyond just the chemicals. So we were getting a lot of noisy data and sort of like false positive hits. And so we came up with a way to basically break down all of the posts that we found into really tightly knit topics. And that's actually the T in TSV comes from this topic process. But this way we could show them all of the data about bisphenol A and filter out the stuff about business process automation, business professionals of America, and bushels per acre. And this really helped kind of start shaping the process that we'll eventually use for businesses. After this, we also worked on a project with the Clinton Health Access Initiative to forecast COVID-19 cases all across the world. And we did something very similar, essentially using the same script where we would collect posts on social media that mentioned 2 or more symptoms of COVID, basically as like the person was publicly self-identifying with having the symptoms of COVID. And as long as those public posts had some sort of location attached to them with Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, most social media platforms, you can specify a location. So we were using that at the state level to do state-by-state forecasts. And we actually produced a model that had really, really, really good forecast results from the 2 to 6 weeks out range for the number of new COVID cases that state would have. So that kind of validated the virality component, i.e. in predicting what the public will say about this in the future. That's one of the things we did initially with the ACA and all these paint companies, but it's something we kind of really nailed down with chai. And if you add sentiment into that mix, which is essentially the like how positive, negative, or neutral the languages in these posts are, you get topics, sentiment, and virality, and that's kind of how TSV was born. But yeah, so we started in research and then we're basically convinced to try it out for brands. And so that's where we are today. It's a little different for brands. Obviously, all the social content that you want to post about is going to be directly tied to your brand and your goals. So we kind of have a little bit of a social checklist to actually creating content. Number 1 is defining your target audience. There's a big difference in kind of posting to the void and like screaming into a tunnel versus actually targeting the people that you want to see your posts. So coming up with a solid target audience is always step number 1. Figuring out where they scroll is second. We've seen time and time again where people will just kind of assume that like, okay, everybody's on TikTok now, but not really know that like you might have a really tight-knit group of people interested in your industry or your product or your brand on a platform you wouldn't expect them to be on. So knowing where your audience is too will be just as helpful. Following that, you have to figure out your goals. So why are you posting? Obviously, you want to brand your account and your posts. So you want to have a collective voice around everything that comes out. Sticking to a content calendar will ensure that you see long-term success. A lot of people think that they can start posting on social and immediately get really good engagement, but this is something that happens over time. So just staying consistent with it will be one of your best tools. And then obviously connecting with similar accounts. So social media is in itself a giant conversation consisting of lots and lots of smaller conversations. So interacting with other people in your space is a huge way to get your name out there more. And then following this, I'm sure many of you guys, if you've worked on social media for your companies, have made some of these faces as well. I used to be a social media manager for a soccer team in Asheville before research and TSV was ever a thing. And I think I made these faces all the time. It is tough, especially if you're at a smaller company and there's not a whole lot of marketing direction or like marketing assets you can base your work off of. Like coming up with content is time consuming and you can doubt yourself a lot. You could get writer's block. You can spend 10 times as long researching the post as it would take to actually write the post. And then obviously, unless you're constantly scrolling through social media or using some sort of social listening service, you're going to miss out on trends. So I feel like for a lot of people, the life of a social media manager is just 24/7 on social media, nothing else. But yeah, so we'll talk about some ways to fix that. So tying back into the, I guess the negative side of social media, that's you can get writer's block, too much research, and missing trends. Obviously that sucks when it happens, but it's not a good enough reason to not use social media. Because, you know, in our day and age, in 2023, social media is probably the best way to actually build brand awareness, connect with your audience and understand your audience better, and then to also generate leads and sales. It feels like today, pretty much everybody is on social media, every company is on social media, so that's the place to go.
Yeah, and I think specifically with that last point that Aiden just mentioned about generating leads, sales, that's really the number one question that every single marketer, especially social media marketers, are asking how they can do more of. So what are the best ways for me to get people to my website, purchase my product, reach out to me, really just generate those leads? So as you can see here, over 50% of marketers in this specific survey said that that was the number one thing that they're focused on. And so I think that's probably a common theme here as well. But I think another thing to really focus on as well is that social media isn't an overnight success, and posting a few times on Twitter over the next week isn't going to lead to a bunch of people coming to your website, purchasing your product. Social media is definitely a long haul of continuously posting, sticking to your content calendar, making sure you understand your audience, and committing to social media overall. And you can see this chart as well here is kind of just showing that the longer that a brand sticks to posting on social media and committing to the process, the more they agree with sales are coming from social media leads, people are coming to their site, however it might be kind of leading to that. So just two big things to remember here, that it is very much typical to go after sales and leads, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. So having a process where you can kind of create content consistently very easily is exactly why we're creating TSV Analytics. So some of the biggest gains through TSV that we've seen from our users is saving all of that time from not having to research and constantly stay up to date as entrepreneurs, startup founders, whatever you all might be. I'm sure you have other things to do than spend 3 hours on TikTok seeing what the next trend is. So having a place where you can come in, see the analytics, understand what's happening in your niche would be super helpful and save you a bunch of time. And then being able to actually generate the content around those topics after not having to do that research, just being able to tailor what you're posting to what your audience actually cares about. And that all really comes back to the fact that you need to understand your audience. And I'm sure that'll be a theme throughout this entire presentation, is that is the number one thing. If you know what your audience cares about, what's trending within their niche, you can resonate with them, get them into your website, see you as a thought leader, whatever it might be, to kind of get them to the next step. But now we can kind of talk about how TSV is actually able to do this.
Yeah, so we have taken a lot of steps to ensure that we use as much AI, ML, and automation that we can throughout this process. Obviously, for the very first step, we have to actually collect the posts that we use for everything else. So we have a social listening, process set up in place. So we collect posts from TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit at the moment. We're also looking into adding Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube to kind of round out the big 7 of social media. But essentially, we collect any post across any of these platforms that mentions one of the key terms that we're tracking. So key terms, typically we'll set it up through a dashboard. So if your company was interested in a specific industry or a specific topic, or your brand was large enough that you wanted to track your own brand, we would basically identify key terms related to those things and then collect any public facing post that mentions that key term or a slight derivative of the key term. Then obviously over time, this is going to be hundreds of thousands of posts into the millions of posts. And so we need a way to automatically process all of those. So we basically, especially because they're all coming from different platforms, we had to come up with a way to basically aggregate data between all of these posts. So that's sort of what the TSV data processing step does. And then with all of this aggregated data, we're able to set up dashboards that'll basically show insights and analytics related to the overarching theme or topics or discussion for your industry, brand, competitors, really whatever you are focused on social. And then that sort of also plays into what we have now, which is the TSV content generator, and then the content hub, which is coming soon, which is basically a way to also create posts in app and then to also schedule posts in app for release. So that's sort of the whole TSV process. Obviously, it's a in development life cycle. So some things have changed over the years. Things have been added, things have been removed. But generally speaking, that's how we do all of our processing. Following this, we have the ideation phase of creating content. So we'll get through all 3 phases, but for ideation, the 5 social W's are really where it's based. So you've got the who, like we said before, you need to understand your audience, and this includes influencers and other possible brands that you want to collaborate with. The what is the trending topics among your target audience's community. The where are which platforms these people are on, where they're posting, where they're looking. The when is when these upcoming trends will happen, when public will be the most interested in the topic. And so that ties into the V for TSV, which we'll get into more later. And then the why it comes down to more personal goals for the company, but generally speaking, you want to stay in touch with your audience while adding industry expertise and becoming sort of a trusted voice in the industry.
Yeah, and with all of that information from the ideation phase, it's kind of the perfect segue into the creation, because by TSV being able to identify trending hashtags, influencers, we're able to then create even more effective, trending, relevant content. And that kind of gets into the TSV content generator here. And you can see a sample of what we'll kind of dive into in a little bit. But this content generator basically solves the who, what, and why for posting on social media for your brand. And this can be completely customized. You can almost think of it as a ChatGPT specifically designed for social media posts and content to post on social media. So you can select whichever platform you would be posting on for your brand, and then you're able to see these topics here. And one of the biggest benefits of having those social listening on top of the content generator is that you're able to then see, okay, of the trending topics of the conversations I care about, which ones do I want to post revolving around? So then you can just click whichever one kind of pops up here based on what your audience cares about and the trend of that topic, and then tailor it for whatever you want to be posting about. So that kind of comes down to your goal, audience, and tone specifically. So the goal, we typically use an example of promoting the new TSV content generator, or if you have a sale or a special going on, you can promote that. And then your audience will typically be who you're going after and want to see the post. So for TSV, we typically do social media managers or social media marketers. And then finally, for the tone of voice, it's really, how does your brand want to sound when you're posting on social media? So something like exciting or witty, revolutionary, humorous, really whatever you want it to be and what your brand sounds like. It's just important to stick to a branding and keep that tone of voice and just be consistent for your audience, and so they know what to expect. And we'll kind of dive into how we can use this at the end of the deck here, but to kind of show an example of some examples we created for TSV Analytics specifically, we have 3 tweet ideas here that are all revolved around promoting the new TSV content generator tool. And this lets you see that you can come in here and copy this, take it straight to Twitter, post it for your audience. And it's as simple as 5 seconds in TSV, and then take it to Twitter, and then you're done with Twitter for the day. Or you can make small edits in terms of specifically calling out, like if you want to at your own account, really just small edits. This really takes you from the 0 to 1, and then making your edits, you'll be able to make it the perfect post for your brand. And I think even to add on top of that is looking at TikTok in terms of video content that is really taking a huge rise or rising over the past few months. You can see for TSV, we're able to create entire TikTok video scripts, scenes, the caption kind of really, you don't have to think about what am I supposed to put in the background of this video, what should I talk about? We'll give you the whole voiceover script and the scene that you should be including in your video. And you can tailor this specifically to your brand once again. But I think this kind of shows the power, and we'll go in depth a little more once we get into the full content generator demo.
And that takes us back into the distribution phase of social media. So obviously, once you've come up with your idea and created your content, you need to distribute it. Coming soon, we'll have a TSV Content Hub, which will be our in-house content calendar app to help do that. But we've actually been working on the distribution phase from the beginning with the virality component, so the V in TSV. And that's essentially where, for any one of these topics, we are able to forecast into the future how much public interest there will be in that topic. And then you can use that information to plan out your content calendar. Like, okay, obviously you want to be posting on the day when the most people are going to be engaged in that topic. So you can see a screenshot. It's a pretty old one back from November. We need to update this, but this was for one of the private dashboards we were doing at that time, where essentially, I think the actual date for this was November 1st. And so on that left side of the post scheduling table, you can see that we've predicted out all the way through the end of November with different virality scores. And so based on that week's forecast, the upcoming Monday looked like it had the highest virality. So that would be day number 1 to target. Your biggest post you want to put on the highest virality day, and then everything else you want to do afterwards. And so this can also be tailored a little bit based on the platforms you're posting on. There's a general virality that kind of encompasses all of social media, but if you wanted to see specifically for like Reddit or TikTok what the best days to post and the best times to post, we can do that as well, which is pretty exciting.
Hey, Trevor and Aiden, there's a question in the chat, and that is, are you all using an AI text generator for the scripting and content generation or some other technology?
Yeah, so we are using an AI text generator. It's kind of 2 different levels of AI NLP technology. The first one being through that social listening and analyzing different posts and seeing what the conversations look like there. And then the other one is the AI text generator. And that can be pretty analogous to ChatGPT and the whole Craze there and what people are focusing on. So super similar.
Awesome. Next question is your forecast market specific? For example, if your market is education, would the time to post be different than medtech?
Yeah, so the actual topics themselves will be what is getting forecasted. So public interest in the specified topic, and then the topic, as long as we've defined enough relevant key terms to collect data from, that's pretty much nailed in. We have seen cases where, like, if your topic of interest is very, very, very low volume, in the sense that like is maybe getting a couple posts a day with your key terms, that's going to be a lot harder to forecast accurately. But with volume that low, you're probably not going to see a huge change day over day until the conversation starts picking up a little bit more. But with higher volume conversations, our forecast has been a lot more accurate. So we worked with Peloton for quite a while, and I don't know if all of you are familiar, but they had 2 or 3 really, really negative press events over the last couple of years. And for 2 of them specifically, we predicted to the day that everything would blow up for them 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. And I think both times they were a little shaken up from what had just happened, but did appreciate the fact that we told them about it ahead of time. And that's basically done through detecting all of these tiny little murmurs that are going on through all of the different terms that Peloton was tracking. So they had a relatively extensive key term list, but the same kind of analysis can be applied to much simpler topics.
Awesome. Next question is, are the dates and times to post tied to the time zones?
So we have everything currently set up on UTC. We're a relatively small company with just 3 devs working on this. So everything currently is on UTC time, but we are re-rolling the dashboard back out soon along with Content Hub, which will include time zone automation. So we'll be able to figure out what time zone you're in and actually scale the days and times to where you're based.
Next question.
Key terms and keywords are the same thing.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Onward.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Yeah, so I think we wrapped up the virality section of this slide. Trevor, if you want to advance.
That's perfect. And to kind of give a little bit of a preview of what the TSV product actually looks like, you can see an example of a TSV dashboard here for the conversation around coffee, Starbucks, whatever that might be. And this kind of just shows you that we can show you what's trending within this conversation. So topics, influencers, hashtags, and this goes back to, I think, a question we had, whether it can be industry specific. So this entire dashboard is revolved around coffee. But if we tracked education, all of this would be completely different based on what's being posted in that topic. So this kind of just gives you an idea that everything is super tailored based on what you would be focused on. And then I think the last thing for us to kind of go into here is the results that we've had from kind of automating the whole content creation process. And to give a specific example here, we worked with Nimble CRM, which is a B2B SaaS platform that offers a CRM software platform, and their social media managers connected with us, and they constantly kept telling us that they wanted to improve their results on Twitter specifically. So we started working with them, analyzing the conversation around customer relationship management, similar types of topics and themes that they care about. And then they were able, and you can see the quote at the bottom here that says that their social media manager was able to know which chats they should engage in the whole CRM space, and knew when to engage in those specific chats. So before using TSV, they were basically guessing, what should we be posting about? Where should we be posting? When should we be posting? And didn't really have concrete analytics and data to answer those questions. And by using TSV, they were able to have super clear actions. Here's what you should post about. This is when you should post it. Go and post it at this time. And that led to a 31% increase in clicks to their website from Twitter, and a 77% increase in total engagement on the Twitter platform and their content. And finally, I think most importantly, is saving over an hour each week for a social media manager who's doing a ton of stuff on top of managing social media, which is pretty common, especially I think similar situation to here. So really just showing great results from the initial plan that we did with Nimble. And I see we do have a question in the chat. Yes, so along the lines of tracking metrics, we're actually planning, when we launch the content hub that Aiden was mentioning, that lets you post from TSV to the platform, get reminders, whatever it might be. We were going to have an analytics connection, if allowed, to the accounts that are using TSV's content hub, so that we can track, okay, what does their engagement look like over time? How have their followers changed? And we can track that in unison with how they've been using TSV to see the correlation there. So we are starting to scale up a little bit more and have those things in place where we can understand the exact results that we're helping all of our clients achieve.
And just let everyone know, that question was, do you measure result analytics that confirm that if a company uses your tools, that it has resulted in improved performance and brand recognition and income?
Yeah, and I think even to add on top of that is going back to what I mentioned earlier about, it's not really an overnight success type of thing on social media. Like even the viral posts that you see are typically from creators that have been posting consistently for a while and have good content that they've been producing consistently, but no one has really seen, kind of just blows up. So I think consistency is really the biggest thing here, and being able to do that. And this specific case study was done over a 3-month period. So you can see how quickly the results can really start to come in once you do commit to the whole social media process. Awesome. Well, I think the last thing that we would love to do is, everyone that is here in the Lunch and Learn, we would be happy to set you up with a TSV Analytics account to start creating content for your brand. So we can even send the link in chat to get people over to the TSV Analytics site, and we can kind of just give a demo of how we can go about creating a social media post using TSV. And wow, Aiden, if you want to send the link in chat here.
And Trevor and Aiden, if folks are watching this later, what's the best way to connect with you to get set up with an account?
Yeah, so you can totally go on to the TSV Analytics site, sign up straight from there, and you'll be able to start using the platform. And I think if anyone is watching later on and wants to get set up with it, like, can definitely reach out to both Aiden and I. We're just Trevor and Aiden at tsvanalytics.com. So we're always available and happy to help.
Awesome.
So if people want to just start heading there, I think just to begin, I can give an example of how we can use the TSV Analytics platform. And this is specifically for TSV using the TSV platform. So for this specific one, say for TSV, our audience is primarily on LinkedIn and Twitter. So for us, for example, we can say we want to make a tweet, and we already have these predefined topics here that are about TSV analytics, social listening, predicting trends, hashtag AI, really what we're focused on. And then we can even click this other one over here for social media marketing, digital marketing, social SEO. And for you all, as you're going through the platform, you can come down to this create a topic and really include whatever you would want to post about your brand. So if we want to specifically talk about the content generator tool for content creation, we can throw that in as a topic, and that will be included in the output of the post that we'd be creating. So for the goal of our post, we want to inform people about the TSV content generator launch, as that we did just release this content generator a little over a week and a half ago. So super early on, and any feedback that you all have from testing out the tool would be super appreciated. And if it seems super helpful, we would also love to know that if you're creating a bunch of content. And then for the audience here, if we want to put in social media marketers, just as an example. And then finally, for the tone, we can go with revolutionary, just as our typical brand voice. And then once we hit this generate post here, we can see that it is starting to create all of the tweet ideas. And then within seconds, we can see we have a social or a tweet specifically that we can then go take to Twitter and post straight away. So for me, I would think just looking at each of these, I would probably choose this first one here, talking about a revolutionary AI-powered content generator. And if this one seems pretty good, I'll save it to my saved posts, and I can just go and check out all of those in here. And this one that we were just looking at shows up at the bottom. And if we really like this one, but it just doesn't seem exactly right, I can click this AI button, and it'll actually give me 3 posts that are super similar to this tweet idea. So you can get a little more creative or just switch it up a little bit for what you want to post out there. So ready to go to the next level, don't miss out on the launch. And if this one seems good, we can make a small little edit. And if we wanted to just like at ourselves for this specific post, we can make that change there. And then I'll copy this and we can take it straight over to Twitter and post it on here. So you can see it's a little bit longer than we would like, so we can make a little bit of an edit here and remove these 2 hashtags, but I'll go ahead and just tweet that straight away. And then we have social media posts created for TSV Analytics as an example.
Hey, Trevor, there's a question in the chat that asks, how does this tie to your content, both images and video?
Yeah. We're working on getting image suggestions included. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of like Dolly. There's a couple of other libraries out there that could be helpful for imaging. It's definitely something we want to include specifically for the more media focused platforms. But what we do have for TikTok is an actual script generator. So if you generate a TikTok post in the generator, it'll give you sort of a screenplay style script that includes what should actually be in the video, what people are saying, as well as like a caption for the video. And you can see Trevor's in the edit mode right now. So you can also go through and change all of this in app and then save or unsave or whatever you want to do. And yes, sign up is free.
So right now we're giving away a month of social media content for free. So you can come in here and get 30 social media posts specifically using your topics, content, really whatever you're focused on, and kind of just trying to get it out there, get some feedback. Hopefully it's useful for everyone here too.
A question in the chat is to follow up on that. I mean, I'm going to include a video or image. Does that get stored in this data set, or where is that stored?
Yes. So for the generator, that stuff won't get saved, but we have another tool coming out very soon called the TSV Content Hub, which will essentially be our content calendar integration for all of this. So you can send posts directly from the generator to Content Hub as a post draft, and then to that post draft, you can add images, videos, or whatever else you want to include with the post. So not specifically on the generator, but yes, that is coming soon.
And is signing up for TSV free?
Yes.
And then will it recommend whether a video or static image should do better in the content suggestions? Great question.
I believe it will do that for Instagram and Reddit. We make media recommendations for both. We haven't had a whole lot of usage specifically for the Reddit side, but that is something we are looking to expand upon. So I think right now it just kind of randomly tries to guess which one will be the best, but we might be able to include a way where if you definitely know you want to include a specific link or a certain image and then kind of craft the post around that, we're looking to make sure that you can do that in app too.
When do you expect it to be integrated with LinkedIn?
So we have the inner workings for post collection done for LinkedIn. Kind of in the life cycle of TSV, our next few steps are to get Content Hub released to the public, to get the new version of the dashboards released to the public, and then integrating LinkedIn specifically will be the immediate next step, followed by YouTube and Facebook sometime in Q2, Q3 of this year.
And I think specifically for LinkedIn, it's been a struggle to deal with all the data challenges from Microsoft, but I think kind of the biggest advantage of this content generator is even though we're not looking specifically at LinkedIn conversations, I think there is a lot of crossover between what people are talking about in their niche on each of the platforms. So although it is important to target your audience on the platform you think they're on, I think it's totally valid to get inspiration on what type of content posts from Twitter, Reddit, whatever people are talking about, and then turn that into a LinkedIn idea. So you can see we create LinkedIn posts such as the headline and the post content below, but we are definitely going after LinkedIn as much as possible.
Next question is there a specific amount of learning time needed for the tool to be able to most accurately use it for the industry? For example, as you are adding the keywords over time, it gets more used to them or ready to just go from signing up?
So it's definitely ready to go straight from signing up. I think the biggest, I don't know if it's a challenge with the content generator, is just being as specific as possible. Like the more specific you are with the content generator and the AI behind it, the much better results that you're going to get. So if you know something super specific about an industry, I would create that into a topic, include it as kind of your goal or whatever it might be, because you can tailor it to exactly what you want to say if you do know a little bit more about the industry and adding your thought expertise, thought leadership, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing related to that. So you can see the topics here, like Trevor added the content generator tool for content creation topic. These are very similar to the topics you would see on a TSV dashboard, which is hooked up to the social listening. So if you had a dashboard set up about a topic that you cared about or like an overarching theme that you cared about, every Monday our crawl would reset. So we'd use the past 4 weeks of social media data to basically generate analytics and insights for you for that current week. And the topics that get generated for each one of those crawls can be included directly into the generator. So you can be pulling from the actual trending topics in your niche rather than having to come up with your own.
Next question is that you mentioned there are 3 of you now. Growth, are all 3 of you developers? You seem to have a lot of work developing, testing, etc. in front of you.
Definitely a lot of work ahead of us, that's for sure. I would agree with that. I would say we're all developers. It seems generous to me. It's definitely mostly Aiden and Brian, our other software developer, that are doing a lot on even just this content generator, getting this up. We're integrating the content hub over the next week and then the dashboards in the week to follow. So it's a lot of work, but we'll see how the growth, I think with this launch of this tool, combining it with the other things that we have going on, hopefully some growth in revenue as well, and getting to the next stage and going after some type of investment or accelerator program is kind of the next thing for us.
Other questions, folks?
I see a couple more questions.
Yeah.
How long has your AP been live? And I'm reading them for the folks who are going to watch this later, so the chat's not included.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this specific tool, the content generator, has only been up for the last week and a half. We've gone through, I believe, 3 different versions of the dashboard dating all the way back to, I want to say like late 2019. And we are currently working on what we think will be the best dashboard. I hope it's the best dashboard. But yeah, so this whole journey, we've been taking user feedback for basically every single person we've talked to about TSV. And now we think we finally have the missing pieces, and now it's just integrating that back with the site. For a long time, we only tracked Twitter and like the UI UX on the site. I say what you want about what it looks like now. It was awful early on. So definitely a lot of internal like learning and growth in just how to build a web app. But I think now we're finally getting somewhere where we'll have a pretty cool product out.
Awesome. Anything else, folks?
I think we got one more question about the pricing in the chat. So it is a rolling 30-day trial. So every month you get 30 social media posts from TSV. You can come back. It is the first of the month. So if we would have started a few days ago, I guess you could have had a little bit more in January, but that's how the days fell. And then we can actually upgrade to unlimited content creation with your own topics for $20 a month. So you won't be limited to 30 posts. And then we kind of go up to the next level of social listening, which includes all of the insights and the analytics, custom topics based on those trends. And that comes in 2 different packages. So we have the standard, which is $300 per month, and then the premium, which is kind of our enterprise level, where we'll look at a specific conversation theme, and kind of depends on how much data it would take from that for us to be able to track that. Yeah. But happy to talk about that in more detail.
Awesome. Cool. Well, if there are any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And otherwise, thank you so much, Trevor and Aiden. This was a really wonderful presentation. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat window, and we're pretty good on time. But yeah, I mean, Trevor and Aiden, what's the best way to connect with you all?
Yeah, definitely email is the best for us. I can drop our emails in the chat here, but we are just Trevor and Aiden at tsvanalytics.com, and definitely don't hesitate to reach out with any feedback, suggestions, whatever it might be. Would love to hear it.
Also, reach out to us on social, because we do social listening for our own accounts. So any post that mentions us will get funneled back into our dashboard for tracking our accounts, which is pretty cool.
Got to pump up the numbers.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so very much for presenting today, and thank you for everyone who attended this session. We really appreciate you engaging with our sponsors and being here today. Just as a reminder, Riot hosts Lunch and Learns weekly on Wednesdays at 1. You can find as we post them on our meetup pages and on our website, and join us via Zoom Wednesdays at 1. Thank you all again, Trevor and Aiden, for a wonderful presentation, and I hope that everyone enjoys the rest of their day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
See you.